I'm Alex, this is Matt, and this is Cheyenne. We're part of the migrations team, and we're going to talk to you about migration strategy, and more interestingly, I think for this group, also the roadmap. So I head up Cloud Migration Managers, which is a team that helps with our actual customer migrations from a project management perspective. We'll talk about that a little bit, and Matt and Cheyenne are going to talk about big picture a little bit, as well as give you a deep dive into the roadmap. The other thing also not mentioned yet on the agenda is we want to talk about how we're changing the way that we support our partners and our marketplace partners in particular. And we're going to touch on also on what you can do to support our enterprise customers and prepare for cloud enterprise through migrations as the bigger opportunity. So the first portion of that is the opportunity ahead and why migrations matter, big picture kind of view. I'm going to hand this over to Matt, and he's going to walk you through that opportunity first.
Thank you, Alex. Hey team, my name is Matt Chapman, head of product for the migration product team. Thank you very much for joining us today. I know there's a lot of sessions going on. You're probably a little bit dusty from last night at the Australia Bar. I hope everyone had a ton of fun. So I'm really excited to talk to you today, and we've got an amazing opportunity ahead of us in migrations. Before I get there though, I just want to talk about where we are going as a company in Atlassian. I'm sure that everyone here in this room has heard Atlassian talk about cloud, and where we're going to probably, far more than you would like, but I think this slide really illustrates to me how much effort we have put in over the last few years to really accelerate our cloud offerings, especially for our enterprise customers. So this is where we were in 2018. We did a ton of research. We looked at the biggest request for our enterprise customers, and we basically identified 50 high-value tactics that we needed to focus on in order to really target that enterprise customer base. And when you look at where we are today, the majority of these big 50 rocks we are in some capacity have tackled, right? And so Atlassian is going to continue to invest in our cloud platform. It's where all of our value is going. It's where we want to bring all of our customers, and we're going to continue to work through not only these cloud features and these really big rocks that our special enterprise customers demand, but also, as you will have seen over the last few months, we are starting to really build in advanced capabilities like AI into our product offering, right? And so when we think about all the investment we put into these enterprise product features, all the capacity that we are building with things like AI, but then also the cross-sell and upsell opportunities, where we are going to as a company, it's a pretty exciting time. But what I will say, migrations really is just a start, right? And so when we think about migrations, the process of taking our very, very large and sizable, on-prem base and moving it to the cloud, we're going to continue to accelerate that. We're going to continue to invest in our cloud, new capabilities, new functionality, moving those customers from our on-prem to cloud. We know that server end of life is coming up, but we're also starting to see a lot of our DC customer base express a very strong instant to moving to cloud sooner rather than later. But what is very, very exciting about this opportunity, getting to cloud is just the first step, right? When we think about the market opportunity that we have as moving that on-prem customer base, but then expansion, right? We know that once they get to cloud, we start to see them realizing that value. We know they expand a lot quicker. We know that we can see more user data and behavior, so we can do better cross-sell and upsell opportunities. We know that we can get more leverage out of our platform, and so we can expand them much, much quicker as well. So what I would say is this is the best marketing funnel that you can ever imagine, right? Taking this very, very sizable on-prem base and moving it to cloud, it is really just the first step. But in order to get them there, we need to make sure they have a great experience, right? Our customers do not differentiate between Atlassian and you, our marketplace partners. I cannot tell you the amount of times that we're going through a migration conversation and they say that we're using Atlassian, and then we realize we've got 30 apps that is actually bringing our products to life. And so I cannot understate how important our success is of partnering with you. And when we think about what our customers need as part of this experience, they don't differentiate between DC, migration, and cloud. It's the same thing. So if we want to realize this amazing opportunity of not just migrating our customers, but also expanding and retaining them, we need to make sure that entire process is seamless. And so when we think about what does that mean for our customers, right? And when I think about this, I always think about the person's job that needs to actually do this migration. And I think about, the admin that has to go to their boss and talk about, how they're going in their migration. Or we talk about like the IT manager that has to go to their CTO or the CTO going to the board. This is real people's jobs and lives that we are working with to make sure that their migration is successful. And because our customers are running Atlassian apps and by proxy your apps as business critical applications, there can be no downtime, which means that as part of the migration process, there cannot be any lag between the user being on-prem and actually being on cloud. What we find is that that's usually done over a weekend. And to do that, it's not just the migration, it's also the data preparation. It's the migration itself, it's the post-migration success. And so over the last couple of years for the team that I look after, we have a tool called JCMA, which is a Jira migrations tool, and Confluence CCMA. We've actually 4x JCMA throughput over the last few years, and we've 22x CCMA. And the reason that we are investing so heavily in our capabilities and our tools is to make sure that we can get customers as quickly as we can over that migration window to cloud. We've also increased our reliability. And so we've invested in JCMA reliability. We took it from about 53% to about 95% over the last couple of years. CCMA is sitting at about 96%. And the whole reason we've invested in those tools is to make sure that there's zero downtime, there's high predictability, right? Like you think about these large enterprise customers trying to migrate over a weekend. They have to do a bunch of change management, they have to onboard their users, they need to go to their board, they need to get funding, and so we need to make sure it's predictable. And then as we're doing this, we know that problems come up and we need fast remediation as well. And so, as I said, we've invested in that, we're going to continue to invest in that, but obviously we need that partnership with you. What we're starting to see now is we're starting to see more marketplace apps actually blocking our customers from migrating because you guys are integral to our overall product offering. And so the same way that we've been investing, and I know that you have been investing as well, we want to partner with you closer to make sure that we have a great experience for our customers, zero downtime, predictable, and fast remediation. But what we're starting to see now is, as we start to get into this DC customer base, our remaining on-prem customers are going to be larger and more complex than ever before. We're starting to see new patterns of migrations as well. And so traditionally with the migration, they would take the on-prem footprint and they'd replicate it in cloud. That's essentially how they're doing it. What we're starting to see now is we're starting to see customers actually transforming their ways of working, which makes sense, right? They want to get to cloud, they want to get more value out of cloud, they want to utilize all the capabilities that are native in cloud and actually change their ways of working. And so we've been working with a customer recently, about 30,000 users. They had it on one single on-prem instance when they're in DC. And what they're doing now is they're actually dividing that on-prem instance into 3 separate cloud sites, right? All based on their ways of working and based on their business departments. And so we are starting to see the changing nature of migrations. And again, as we start to get into these more complex customers, and Shay's going to talk a little bit about that, they do have more applications as well. And so this is only going to become more important, that partnership with all the people in this room today. So I'm going to pass over to Alex, and she's going to talk you through how we're going to support you on this journey. This is a partnership. We're in this together. Our success is very much determined by the partnership with everyone in this room. But what I will leave you with is amazing business opportunity, right? Like taking all of our customers to cloud and then expanding them once they're in cloud. If I was in your shoes, I would not want to drop any customer, any user, because once they're there, it's much stickier, right? The second thing is these are business critical applications, right? So we need to make sure they have a great experience whilst they're going to cloud and make sure that we do actually realize that amazing opportunity. And then the last point I'd like to leave you with is they are going to get more complex. They're going to get harder. So we are going to have to partner tighter together to make sure they have that great experience. But we're here to help you. Alex is going to talk you through that. Shay and her team are doing some amazing work there as well. So we are going to do this together. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And we've talked about sort of the big picture of this. And one thing before I dive into the support and kind of how we support you and our customers and how we all can support each other in that partnership that Matt mentions, one thing we heard yesterday in several conversations with partners just walking around was, well, aren't migrations almost over? I mean, server end of life is like in a couple months. Isn't it almost done? Aren't you almost finished? And just reiterating that point that Matt has made, it's just beginning, really, right? Server is such a small part, relatively, obviously it's still big, but relatively small part to what remains on data center. And some of the migrators that we're seeing, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit with a quick question to the audience as well, are getting bigger and bigger and more complicated. And their desire is to either sort of exist in at least a hybrid environment, part on DC, part on cloud, or really see a path to a cloud existence that also includes their third party or second party, as we internally call it, apps through all of the marketplace vendors that are here. So talking about the support, we've touched on sort of some of the technical challenges ahead of us and how we can build the products and tooling to support each other, both from our perspective and your perspective. And there is going to be a deep dive on that in a little bit. But we also have a new way of supporting our customers from the services and solutions and support perspective overall. And going down sort of memory lane, I don't know if you can all see this. This is a slide that we showed in the past to our customers, and it has various iterations depending on the customer size. And we really try to kind of paint the picture to the customer of what their migration journey is going to look like. It starts in the assessment, and then you have your salespeople and your solution engineers, and they really kind of sell the value of cloud, sometimes in partnership with a solutions partner. And once the deal closes, my team comes in, which is the cloud migration managers. And many different actors sort of with deep subject matter expertise pop in and out of the migration, supporting the CMM, or the CMM rather, supporting them to make sure our customers are successful. We also put a lot of pressure on customers of a certain complexity and size to really consider solution partners, to really consider advisory services. And you're probably looking at this visual and all of these different people that kind of interject themselves in different parts of that migration journey. And you're probably thinking, that's great, but marketplace partners are not represented on that slide at all. And they weren't. For a really long time in our kickoff decks with enterprise customers, our team would sort of outline the way that we support our customers, the best practices, how we connect them with internal teams, the advocacy that we have with Matt's team to deliver features and functionality that they require, providing them resources and guidance. And we would also have this slide where we would say, just so you know, these are also the things that we do not do. And one of the things that we explicitly said for the longest time was we don't really support third-party apps. You have a one-to-one relationship with your vendor. You reach out to them. You have a contract with them. I don't know what's in that contract. We're not sure what type of support, right? Because it's so varied. But to the point that Matt was making, that's not a reality of how our enterprise or even mid-market customers exist. They look at Atlassian, they look at Jira, and all of the apps that they have within Jira or within Confluence are just as important to them as the core product. And oftentimes we have deep conversations with enterprise customers that come to us and they say, we have 20, 30, 40, 50 essential, mission-critical apps. We cannot move without them. So the challenge ahead of us is not just to move their Jira deployment or their Confluence deployment into cloud. It's figure out how we get the functionality and all of the sort of special skills and features that the marketplace apps bring along. And the story of you reach out to them and raise a ticket simply doesn't work. That's not a good enterprise experience. And it sort of passed the buck on many of you as vendors, right? Without really addressing the core issue, which is that of partnership. We need to get closer together and we need to partner. And so this, again, is a historical slide, not a reality that we see now. But in order to try to correct this and try to figure out how to support not only our customers, but our marketplace vendors, marketplace partners better as well, we introduced FAM, which is Frictionless App Migration Program. So FAM is a cross-functional, it's an internal program that we have that includes the ecosystem team with the TPMs heavily involved, our teams, of course, in product as well. And the goal of this program is to provide better visibility to all of the marketplace partners about what migrations are coming. So you shouldn't find out about migration when the test breaks, right? That's a reality sometimes that we've seen in the past. You should know months in advance because the customer is able to say, this is mission critical to us, we consent with sharing this data, we want to make sure we visualize that. So we're doing not just the reporting, but also upstream assessments. Before they buy, we want to make sure we ask them, which apps are mission critical to you? How are you using them? Do you feel like you have an appropriate way to connect with that vendor? And look at also what you put out there, right? To say, okay, this is the migration path available. This is one that isn't. We feel like we need to, tweak some data or remove some data and have a really more holistic conversation that includes third-party or second-party apps, as we call them, as part of that conversation. And we want to be better at collaboration with our vendors as well. It's really important for us to build that structure. It doesn't yet exist in a really meaningful way because there's so many different engagement models. But we have a good partnership that we're building with the TPM team to try to further sort of invest in that from our side to be able to support you better. And the most important piece, I think, for this group, or I would think, is our Viper team, which stands for VIP Engineering Resources, one of the coolest names I think we have at Atlassian. And it's an engineering team that supports our customers, largest customers, at the top of the funnel. So they don't wait until they run into a problem. They can proactively engage now. And we do that now also with several of our biggest or sort of most commonly migrated vendors as well. And I think Cheyenne is going to share a good success story of one of those. And so this is some of the stuff that we're committing to, we're really interested in doing. And we also want to make sure we can have some reasonable but ambitious asks for you as our partners as well. So before we get into that, opening a question to the audience, knowing kind of what we know, knowing that we have a big journey ahead of us, when do you think at high level we will have 100K customers, single customer with 100K seats landing in cloud? No wrong answers, you can just take a guess. Tomorrow, okay, that's ambitious. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. We do not yet have one. Wow, you guys are really ahead of here. Okay, I thought everybody was going to say 7 years or something. No, but it's happening. They're already in the funnel. 9 to 12 months. So these are already customers that are selling, that are buying cloud or the promise of cloud, and we need to migrate them. And when I started the CMM team 3 years ago, we had 2,000 user customers that I thought were unachievable. I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? This is so crazy. And we're doing bigger and bigger. Every year, every quarter, it's getting there. But in order to support the scale and performance of 100,000 users in cloud, we need to go faster, and we need our partners, our marketplace partners, to go faster as well. And so ending this portion on an ask before I hand over to the roadmap stuff, which is probably the most interesting, I think, is if you were to consider how you can really invest in migration, like what would be the support service asks that we would have of you and your teams? Starting to think about 24/5 or 24/7 support is certainly one. I know not every vendor in this room has massive teams and can afford to have global coverage, right? But even something like weekend support for mission critical enterprise customers is really, really helpful when it comes to migrations and cloud support in general. And knowing that that investment that you're making is actually really, really important, not just for the migration itself, but for how you will be managing that SaaS relationship in the cloud. Status pages and roadmaps, I think, are obvious. That would be really beneficial. We get this ask all the time. We also have this huge desire to understand better your roadmaps and your downtimes as they happen. And investing in cloud performance and scale, of course, as Matt has already mentioned, is huge. But the one thing that I think is like a quick win, or hopefully a quick win for this group, is customer-facing documentation. If you have a new path, if you have a new workaround, having it out there in a one-to-many instead of one-to-one sort of way will reduce your support volume and is something that our teams can also consume to share with customers. Be really, really meaningful for us. So before I hand over, I know we have a lot of asks of you, and you have a lot of asks from Atlassian. Invest here and do this, and there's scale, and there's AI. But really, migrations and migration supported services, I think, are really significant and will be for several more years. And so we hope we can partner with you. We'll take some questions also about this portion. If we don't have time at the end of this, certainly after. But want to leave you on that note and hand it over to Cheyenne, who's going to talk about the roadmap.
Thanks, Alex. Hey guys, I'm Shay, the PM for the migrations team at Atlassian. It's really nice to see some familiar faces in the crowd. So if you haven't had a chance to speak yet, please come to the migration booth later. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the exciting work we're doing the problems we're trying to solve for our customers and for you, our partners, and explore some opportunities for partnership that will mutually benefit both of us. All right, so for background and context, I'm going to start talking a bit about some challenges that we're trying to solve. We've met with some of you, we've interviewed customers, solution partners, and even did some market research. And of all the feedback we've received, we can kind of group them into these 3 categories. The first one is complex migrations. Second is around the demand for Forge apps. And lastly, the lack of automation. We've started to see a significant growth of enterprise customers wanting to move to the cloud. And these migrations present a level of complexity in terms of data size, shape, and structure that is, beyond what we've seen before. Did you know that the number of apps per migration for an SMB, so small, medium-sized customer, is around 5 to 7 apps, whereas an enterprise customer sits around 30 apps, and it could be as high as 70 apps. That's a massive difference, guys. And looking at this bar graph here, I've added 2 other data points here. So the first one is the average number of retries when app migration fails. This is a new feature we released in September, so it allows our customers to rerun an app migration. And on average, an enterprise customer usually does it about 1 to 2 times, and it has not been recorded for any SMB customers yet. And if you look at the light blue bar graph, the average duration for an enterprise customer doubles of what we've seen for SMB. So I think this gives us a very clear distinction between the 2 different groups of customers that we are working with. Another trend we've started to see is that enterprise customers are getting blocked more often than they should be, right? So there's really a need and urgency for us to enhance our reliability and performance in order to reduce the migration time and offering our customers a seamless experience to the cloud. Okay, so why should you care about these numbers? We've predicted approximately 1.6 paid-enabled users looking to migrate to the cloud in the next 6 months. Not 12, not 18, 6 months. And when they get blocked, they start dropping apps. And we don't want that to happen to your app. All right, so we did some market analysis, and we started to see a growing need for Forge apps. And it's largely driven by the advantages in terms of data security and compliance in the cloud. This graph compares the number of apps released in the marketplace for Connect apps and Forge apps. And as you can see, Forge is much higher than Connect apps. And a trend that we've started to see with customers as well is that they're inclined to adopt a Forge Cloud equivalent app over a Connect Cloud equivalent app. And they're starting to abandon server apps if it doesn't have a Forge app equivalent. And this behavior, poses an obstacle to future migration efforts. Right now, the app migration platform lacks a migration path for Forge apps, and because our efforts have been directed towards Connect apps. So recognizing this gap, we want to introduce not only server to Forge migration paths, but also Connect to Forge. And I will elaborate a little bit later in my presentation on how we intend to bridge this gap. Okay, so the lack of automation. So of all the feedback we've started to receive, we see 2 key reasons. Number 1 is the current platform expects too much from you, right? So in response to that, we've made it a mission to uplift our platform. We want to do the heavy lifting. We want to shoulder the burden of building migration paths so that you can channel your efforts into enhancing your app. And the second reason is around product restrictions, such as not having the APIs you need or disparities in the security model. And if you look at the percentage on the screen there, 37%, that is the number of apps using the app migration platform that have an automated migration path. So as you can see, there's a massive gap here and a lot of opportunities. So we are actively investing in this area, and not only to benefit our customers, right, but also to reduce the amount of developer effort required on your end. We are working on a proof of concept to uplift our platform, so your feedback is crucial. Tell us your requirements so that we can prioritize them for you. Okay, so now we know the challenges and we understand the gaps, let me talk a little bit about what we're trying to do strategically and tactically to address it. Okay, for FY24, we have two pivotal streams of work. This new partnership program was created in October. It is designed to closely collaborate with you, our partners, to improve app posture with one goal in mind, and that's to give our customers an exceptional experience when migrating to the cloud. The program starts with technical engagements from product and engineering in both organizations, so namely Atlassian and yours, and we dedicate time to spar on ideas and work together to resolve customer issues. Right now, we're actively engaged with 9 partners, and despite being in its early stages, we have seen significant success for our customers. So I'm going to share a recent use case so you know what to expect. In a collaborative effort with Xplan, our awesome partner, we've made significant improvements around the process data and how we process data in cloud, resulting in a 75% reduction in full data migration time for an enterprise customer in the telecommunications industry. There were so many great outcomes from this partnership, but I'm just going to share a few highlights. Number one, the enhancements we did together marked a significant milestone in optimizing the app migration process. Number two, export phase duration improved by 64%. And lastly, the average request in the import phase actually increased by 6-fold. That's 600%, guys. Like, that's pretty amazing. So yeah, I will share a little bit about how the process worked. So with Xplan, we meet with them on a, agreed upon cadence to review the customer cases, and then we kind of create a prioritized list, and we set goals around it. And the goal is as simple as customer X migrates to the cloud successfully on the 15th of December 2023, and we work backwards to make that happen. And during these technical syncs, we discuss outcomes of test migrations, we talk about the progress of various issues where the migration team in Atlassian act as subject matter experts. All right, so let's talk about the second part of our strategy. As we start resolving the migration challenges for our customers, we're leveraging the insights from the program to uplift our platform, transforming it into a Forge and event-driven data streaming powerhouse. This in-house developed data pipeline aims to handle all the app migration tasks across the use cases we've seen with enterprise customers. And some of our objectives are to provide a reliable migration path for Connect apps using the Forge ecosystem. We also want to build and introduce new migration paths for Forge apps, and to elevate the platform capabilities by shipping new features like real-time migration metrics and reporting. Right now, we are in the proof of concept stage. We're aiming for MVP and EAP in the first half of next year, subject to the successful validation of our proof of concept, of course, which is why we want to meet with you and to gather your feedback. Okay, let me talk a little bit about the benefits of this Uplift platform initiative that we're doing. Our number one priority is reliability. We want to deliver better performance. So instead of batch processing, we are going to transition to use a data streaming technology to increase throughput. We want to bring the data process in-house, and we want to own the scaling and the operations to meet enterprise demand. Number two, we believe that this new platform will be cost-effective for you, right? Because we're committed to minimize the disruptions on your end and to also reduce the actions you are required to perform. So in other words, we want to introduce more automation and thereby lowering your operational overheads because you will no longer need to maintain the migration path infrastructure. Thirdly, compliance. By leveraging an in-house platform, we will ensure FedRAMP during the migration process. So when a migration kicks off, the data will reside within the Atlassian infrastructure, adhering to the security best practices and technology that is inherent to all the Atlassian products. And lastly, Forge. We want to expand migration paths. So if you are building a Forge app, you'll be in a position to fully adopt Forge. And if you have a Connect app, we will provide a better and more reliable migration path for you using Forge functions. So to summarize, we believe that this platform will deliver not only what surpasses our current platform in terms of reliability and performance, but also automation and compliance measures. Yeah, and ultimately enhancing the overall developer experience for you. Okay. This slide here shows you a current system of how it works at the top, and at the bottom, a future state. In this envisioned system, the migration data will seamlessly move through the platform as individual events, like represented as data objects. There is no longer a requirement to batch import the entire dataset from S3. And while you have the option to carry out custom operations, it is no longer mandatory. We are going to streamline the process by reducing the number of actions required on your end, as I mentioned. And in our POC process, we've discovered 2 key actions. Number 1, declaring the different data transformations, and number 2, declaring the final persisting logic. Okay. So this is my last slide, guys, and this is where I hope you guys will come in. We are, as I mentioned, the Platform Uplift Initiative is currently still work in progress, and we want to validate the technical feasibility of our proof of concept. And if it all goes well, we'll be on track to release MVP and with an EAP slated first half of 2024. So if you have a Forge app or looking to build one, we want to onboard your requirements, no matter how specific they are. And if you have a Connect app and you're currently using the platform, please give us your feedback. And if you're not using the platform, come speak to us as well, and we can see what we can do to help you. Yeah, so I'm going to be at the migration station all week, if you guys are sticking around for Atlas App Week with Andre and Ellen, our 2 senior engineers. And yeah, we're very excited about the program and the platform. And yeah, thank you for your partnership. It's highly valued, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Shay. So just a quick recap, I know we're a little bit over time, but as you can probably sense from all of the investment and excitement that we have on this, migrations are going to be really, really key to enterprise growth and enterprise development. And we want to make sure that we make the investment really worthwhile to you as well. The technology that you're building, the support systems, and then the solutions and services that you're building are all going to be needed in cloud. You know, migrations will sort of graduate into transformations even after everybody's in cloud. Cloud-to-cloud mergers and demergers will continue, and so this technology, this investment will be really, really important. And we know that it is asking a lot because you already get a lot of asks. We want to make sure that in conversation with you, we can all be good partners to each other in this, and we consider your point of view and your needs as we build our platform, as we make our own roadmap decisions, as well as support teams' decisions. And we just ask the same of you. So we want to end on a conversation. Happy to take any questions at this time. And of course, as Shay has said, you can also find us at the booth. We'd love to chat with you after this presentation as well. Thank you all so much, and thanks to my teammates for an awesome presentation. And then now.